Welcome to the DL Gaming Podcast, adding games both old and new to your backlog, one slightly inappropriate episode at a time. My name is Bobby, and do you remember when, wow, I butchered that. Do you remember when MOBAs were awesome? Joining me today is Amanda.
That's right. I got one baseball hat, Bobby's got the other, and you could say that combined, this really is a kingdom of two hats or two crowns.
We are both wearing our crowns today. Awesome. All right. So just you and me on this episode today. We got some cool stuff to talk about. We're going to be talking about Awesomenauts, the 2D MOBA, and also Kingdom Two Crowns, which is like a side-scroller management game. But first, what's new? So what's new with you, Amanda?
Well, what's new with me that I was kind of seeing a lot of buzz about was essentially the latest Escape from Tarkov wipe that happened, I believe, 2 days ago from this recording. Apparently is super hardcore. If you thought the most hardcore FPS game could get more hardcore, it did, which is kind of crazy. So like, what the hell does that mean, right? It means that basically they have added even more steps to doing shit that's already difficult, such as they now have a much larger timer in order to be a scav, which a scav is kind of like you just jump in, you get random loot, you get random stuff, you're just trying to survive. You come in like halfway through a game that's already happening. And so you really just want to kind of have this lottery, almost kind of like a feeling where you pop in, you just try to survive and extract and get out, and then if you're lucky, when you pop in as a scav, you'll get something really good. Well, they kind of just made that a lot fucking harder, and now you have a cooldown of like an hour and a half before you can even do those kind of runs, whereas before I think it was like close to like 20 minutes maybe. So like a lot of times when I played a lot of Tarkov, it was that you want to pop in as a scav as much as possible. And then when you wanted to progress yourself and you wanted to progress quests and really do a lot of the heavy PvP, you would play your PMC or your like main character. Now they're kind of almost like forcing you to constantly be playing your main character. And then additionally too, they got rid of all the quests. There's no quests now. There's no progression. And they took what used to be multiple maps and basically honed them down to 3, which is Ground Zero, Factory, and Customs. And if you want to get to any of the other maps, you have to do this whole transit thing and putting your stuff in a bag to then go into transit to another map. You don't get any more loot for doing that. And so as you could understand, and I think as any of us could understand, people are losing their shit and like uninstalling in waves, and they're pretty mad. They're calling this like a big pro streamer update because it's really only those that game for a living that are going to be able to put in the work to keep up the game. And a lot of people are going to PvE instead as well, which is on one hand kind of a bummer, but I also see, I don't know, I feel like Tarkov in my experience has always been an incredibly toxic place and an incredibly toxic environment. And so in a way to kind of see it get even harder and make it even more difficult and more toxic, like I guess I wouldn't say that was out of the realm of something I could imagine that happening. It is a bummer for those that like are in between, because I feel like there's not really any casual player playing Tarkov. Even if you're casually playing Tarkov, the amount of detail and strategy and all the work that goes into getting to that point is still more than what a like casual gamer to me is. So I feel like them making it even harder is kind of like, I don't know, it's tough. And so I feel like that would be very hard for people who are playing right now, who have really loved it, and especially the PvP groups that are playing it. Like, it's interesting, you know, the response though that the team has had is that they're not telling their players to shut up. They want the feedback. And so the news article that I was reading from IGN was about how like every opinion matters, according to the dev team, but you know, they stand by making the decisions that they did. I think they aim to actually bring quests back, but at least for right now, it's just kind of a mess. It seems to me. So, and it's also too, they've made everything like crazy expensive. I think I was watching Summit and they were talking about how like a cracker in the game is like 40K or some crazy shit. So just so much money. You definitely aren't making 40K for cracker money when you're playing that game. So, and then additionally too, they have an 100% spawn rate for all the bosses. So there's tons of people that are like they spawn in way too close to a boss, they get completely destroyed by a boss, or they bust their ass to kill that boss, and then right away that boss is back. So it feels very relentless, as it seems like is this new wipe for Tarkov. So if anybody listening has played it or can speak as well from personal experience on Tarkov, we'd love to hear it, either in our comments of wherever you can find us at the show or on Discord. I would love to hear some people that have been actively playing Tarkov and how they feel about the wipe. But for me, it was like, I feel like this game already was taking up so much of my time and difficult, and I loved it. I definitely loved playing Tarkov when I did. But hearing about this wipe means, I'm not interested in coming back to the game for a very long time, I think, especially without quests. That makes it really hard and really difficult. And I do feel like Tarkov has always been known as a difficult game, but they surprisingly made it harder, which is crazy to me. But dude, what about you? What's new with you?
Well, that was a lot to take in with Tarkov. That's I've never been a fan of that game since day one. I have really disliked that game for a lot of reasons, and it's gone through a ton of changes, but I don't know how many people are playing that game. I assume a lot. It's not on Steam, so we can't get those numbers, but I really wonder how many people stop playing and if it is like a significant amount, because it does seem like a very popular game, even though a lot of people may quit. I don't know, it seems like impossible to kill this game,
I'd agree with that, actually. Yeah, I think that there's still going to be a diehard like loyalty to it. And, I'm curious, though, like if you could boil it down to like one or two reasons why you hate Tarkov the most, what are those reasons?
Well, I had a terrible first experience with it. So I bought it a long time ago, I think after it first came out in beta, and I went to install it and my computer was like, this doesn't look legit. Let's run a virus scan, So, I mean, that's not a good first impression. But then once I installed it, back in the early days of Tarkov, you had to choose one side or the other. And once you chose that side, you couldn't switch to the other ones. I had bought this alongside maybe 3 or 4 other friends. So the idea was we were all going to play together. I happened to choose the wrong side and I couldn't play with them. And they were just like, sorry, once you make that decision, you can't go back. They later changed that. And then on top of that, these are just not my types of games, these looter shooters like this. So I don't know. I felt like put in a position. I don't think there was any refunds or anything like that, but I spent like $40 on a game that I played for like 15 minutes, had a horrible experience with, and was never going to get my money back. Like, I don't know. I was annoyed by it. So I've always just kind of disliked Tarkov because of that. But it has grown into like so much more than that. So I'm sure it's much better now. I might even enjoy it now. Who knows? But I don't know.
Not with this wipe.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're just starting up, I guess a wipe isn't that important, right? Ugh, all right.
I don't think so. But yeah, what's speaking of, I guess, kind of in line with the technical issues you had in Tarkov, do you want to tell me what's new? What's going on with you and these technical issues?
Yeah, I've been having all sorts of technical issues this week. So I talked a little bit about this last week. I thought I was having heating issues in my computer because Helldivers was crashing. Also, the RoboCop game that I was playing was crashing too. I don't think it's heating issues though. I've been monitoring my temps. I've been turning the graphics way down and it still was happening. Updated all my drivers. I love when you Google something and they're like, well, you should update your drivers. Like, no shit, bro. That's like the first thing I did. But
did you plug it in?
Yeah, exactly. That's like the solution. But I guess some people may not do that. But yeah, updated all my drivers and all that. Nothing's helping here. So I think in this, I'm so tired of going down like technical rabbit holes trying to fix things. My brain just hurts from having to do this all week. But what eventually worked for me, I think, with Helldivers is forcing it to run with DirectX 9 instead of DirectX 11 or DX 12 or whatever it defaults to. That was no easy task, too. I had to watch a bunch of YouTube videos, and like a little bit from this one and a little bit from that one seemed to work, and it hasn't crashed in a while. So I think it's stable. I don't know. RoboCop, another story though. That one keeps crashing, and I'm starting to wonder, like, is my graphics card going bad, or do people just not make games very well for the PC these days? Because if you go online and you Google Helldivers 2 crashing or RoboCop Rogue City crashing, you are going to see just a litany of posts about people experiencing the same issues. So I'm not alone here. And I think it's maybe a little different for everyone. And, you know, people have posted what worked for them and what fixed it. Oh, you got to clear the shader cache or this or that, you know, all these different solutions. And, you know, none of them seem to work for me, but there does seem to be something wrong with these games. I mean, my computer, when I load up one of these games, it sounds like my computer is about to take off with a jet engine or something. You know, the fans just really kick in on that GPU. So I'm starting to understand why people play consoles, honestly. Because, I mean, you just put the game in, you hit the button, everything's been designed to work. It's been tested. It doesn't have to account for like all those different hardware that you may or may not have, and different types of graphics cards. So it just works, and you can have like a uniform experience for everybody. So I definitely understand that. And I've always been really into PC gaming because, you know, you can build your own PC and customize it how you want. And I've always been really into building like a high-end PC too. But at this point, like if I were to buy another graphics card, I'd probably get like a 4070, like something like mid-tier, maybe low end or something, because at the end of the day, like I just want stuff to work. I don't want to have to troubleshoot things. And for the most part, I'm playing games that don't really need like super intense graphics. So it's not like incredibly important for me to have that super high fidelity experience. And it all becomes like super old really quick anyway, so who cares? But yeah, so that's been my lovely week, just dealing with that. It pretty much feels like I'm at work 100% of the time. Sometimes it's just like I never
you
clock
need a vacation.
Out. Yeah. Well, I don't know, because then when I'm on vacation, then I'm dealing with my own technical issues. Yeah, I mean, that compounded with, I was trying to migrate my NAS, my network attached storage, was doing a motherboard swap on that. Turns out they sent me a bad motherboard. Swapping out a motherboard is not fun. I'm sure many of our listeners have done that or experienced that. It's literally connects all the parts in your computer. So, yeah, that wasn't a great experience. But let's get on a positive note. And let's talk about the games that we played this week. So, Amanda, I'm excited to hear about your game this week. What did you play?
I played Kingdom 2 Crowns, and so I'll start off by saying that this game is on Xbox Game Pass. And when you get this game, it comes with 2 more versions of it, which is the Kingdom 2 Crowns Shogun and Kingdom 2 Crowns, I believe, Dead Cells, or Dead Lands, actually. And so what is this game, right? It's essentially a side-scrolling management, strategy, civilization building game. It's kind of a mix of a few things. It's in this like 8-bit retro style, yet done beautifully well. There is such an artistic design to this, with both the lights and the colors that they've put into this. This entire, like, I believe it's called a parallax effect, where the game is layered. So as you're running side to side, things that are further off into the distance are moving slower. So it's creating this like really rich depth to the game that I wasn't expecting from such like a retro looking game. And I remember the entire time that I was playing it on my PC, I was like, damn, I really need a controller. I feel like this is a controller, like this is a Steam Deck game. And so I first went onto my Steam Deck. I started to do the whole, technical issues of trying to run an Xbox Game Pass game on a Steam Deck. Started down that route. And then I'm like, you know what? I wonder if it would just be more beneficial to just buy this damn game off of Steam. And it just so happens that it's in a midweek sale of 75% off. I think literally starting today while we're recording, because I was trying to get this like yesterday and it wasn't that way. So totally worth it. It's like $25 to get the entire bundle, which comes with Kingdom Two Crowns. Like I said, you get the Shogun, you get the Deadlands, but you also get Norselands, so you can be Vikings, or you also get the Kingdom Two Crowns Olympus, which is like the whole Greek style one. And so I started playing a bit more of that on my Steam Deck, and this game runs so amazing on the Steam Deck. Like I want to lay in bed and just play it all day long. You can, you start with being kind of on a mount. At first I thought it was just a horse, but you can upgrade that mount. Like I was on a spider, there's like alligator, there's chimera, there's like all kinds of different creatures that you can ride and fight with. And so you're building up your civilization, your kingdom, and you're spending coins, and your coins is also your health, because at night there's these like creepy looking dudes coming out of a portal called Greed. They're just the Greed, and you have to fight. You have to build up your people so that way they can fight them as well too. And you just basically don't want them to be stealing your shit as you're building things up. And you expand and you go to different islands and you build those up too until you have an archipelago of your own kingdoms, which I just think is beautiful. I feel like as stressful and as toxic as all of that conversation was about Tarkov, Kingdom Two Crowns is like very relaxing and very kind of therapeutic. It felt very nice to play. It's very fun running around side to side, like going to different parts of your kingdom and seeing how people are and things like that. But I think that this game is really just amazing. It's a nice like blend and blur of different genres, and it's done really, really well. And so, I mean, if you don't want to launch $25, or if you don't want to launch $5 for just the game itself on Steam, try it on Game Pass, because it's on there. And I mean, you could probably just sit there on Game Pass with your controller attached and it will feel nice. But this certainly feels like a better controller kind of game than mouse and keyboard. But it's fantastic. I played quite a bit of it, and I want to compare the other versions, like especially Kingdom Two Crowns Shogun, where you're in Japan. I want to compare the two. And so that's why it kind of feeds into what I want to play. But this game was really great. And so I'm kind of curious though, Bobby, like, is there a game that really stands out to you where like these genres have blurred? Because I feel like Kingdom Two Crowns did such a good job of taking your side scroller, your strategy, your builder, and your management sim, and just completely combined them into an amazing game. And I feel like Spiritfarer is kind of up there for me. But are there games for you that like they blurred these genres so well?
These specific genres, like side scrolling, or just any genres?
Oh, I mean any genre, yeah.
I always this is curious, because I've always been fascinated with the ones that combined tower defense and first person shooting, and yet I never really, I don't know, I never played those as much as I thought I would. There's of course Orcs Must Die, which is a really popular one. That's not necessarily first person shooting, but then there was another one that had kind of a sci-fi element to it, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was really good. It was a tower defense with first person shooting. You set up the towers, you had it really blended them very well. But for some reason I played the game for like a few hours and then never touched it again. I'm going to dig that up and find out what it was. Kingdom Two Crowns, I have played quite a bit of this. I think I even played this with Christian a bit too. This is a really great game, and the fact that it's co-op is also very helpful, because since it is 2D, you have enemies coming from the right and coming from the left, so you have to constantly run back and forth between the two. But if you have two players, you can just say, hey, you take the right side, I'll take the left, and then you both just manage that. But yeah, I spent a lot of time playing this one.
What was one of your like favorite parts of the game? Or if anybody wants to get it, I'll ask first, what is one of your favorite parts? And then afterwards, I want to ask if you have any advice for any of the listeners that might want to try this game, or anybody starting out.
I mean, what I really liked about it is it just boiled down the a 4X game to really its simplest form. So it kind of felt more casual. It felt not necessarily easy, but just not as sweaty as like some of these other 4X games. And it was very easy to control. Like you run right or you run left, and that's it. You know, you don't, there's a lot of like clicking in actions per minute in a 4X game, and bumping the side of the screen to move your map, things like that. Like you don't have to deal with a lot of those frustrating parts of 4X games with this. So I really enjoyed that part of it. I actually played this for a little bit when it came out, and I was like, this is really good. And again, it was a game I played for a while and then just kind of put away and did something else. And then I always remembered it though. And I was like, I got to come back and check that out. And I think it was maybe a few years ago that I really got into it, just put a ton of hours into it.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for anybody that's starting out? Like for me, I kind of feel like this might be a little controversial because I know a lot of people are saying to build your kingdom as big and as large as it can handle, and I kind of like to jump one step. So like if I'm running by and I can build up this defense tower, I will go past it and build up the next one, because then at night, while the place is protected, I can have my builders at night building the one that's inside, if that makes sense, or like the first stopping point, because then they don't have to worry about the greed coming and messing with them because they're protected. But I always want to just do one, because obviously if you jump too many points and too many like defense points, then yeah, you're really opening up yourself for a lot of damage. But do you have any advice for anybody that's starting this game out or rediscovering it?
I can't remember the exact build path. And a lot of these 4X games or RTS games even, you know, they have like, you know, you build this, then you build that, then you build this. Like there's a specific path that is people have agreed upon as being like the optimal way to play. And I feel like this game might have that, although it's been so long I can't remember what it is. But I really learned a lot the second time around I played it, and really got into it and learned from my mistakes. And I think one thing that I took away was don't invest too much in one thing. Like, don't think, well, I'll just make my walls really strong and everything will be okay. Or I'll just build a bunch of like attackers or arrow guys and like they'll fend them off. Like I remember getting stuck at points where it was just like, well, I worked myself into a corner. Now I have no income. Now I have no money to like buy things. Or I worked myself into the corner. I have no defense and there's no way to fix that. So like, I think you have to spread your resources pretty evenly across all the things that they give you. Don't upgrade your building too fast, like your main base, like just kind of like evenly spread both right and left. But these are all things that you would learn on your first playthrough. Like many games, you could play this game one time, make all the mistakes, and then immediately you learn from it and you start that second playthrough, and it's way easier just because you know what you need to do.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I mean, especially because when you buy Kingdom 2 Crowns, you're automatically going to get the Shogun version and the Deadlands version too. So that might actually be really fun and good for people to do, where they play the original one, they learn all these things, all these mistakes, and then maybe when they reboot and play a new playthrough, it'll be not just reskinned, but with these little tweaks as well, which would be, that's a really good idea. Yeah. But, you know, it sounds pretty awesome, but I'm curious about Awesomenauts. So that's what you've played, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I talked about this last week. This was actually the game that I talked about for the game that I wanted to play, and I followed through and I played it. If you don't know, Awesomenauts is a 2D 3v3 MOBA / platformer, really. It's like a casual MOBA, as about as casual as MOBAs can get, I suppose. And this game came out in 2012. I talked about this a little bit last week, but I'll give you a quick recap of the history here. The game came out in 2012. I even played it back then and really enjoyed it. It was released by Ronimo Games, and they went bankrupt in 2023, and all of the servers got shut down. Not a lot of people were still playing this game, but it still had a community. But servers got shut down, game was dead. But then Atari comes along, buys the game, and rolls it back a few patches to the one that was working and says, okay, the game's out, you can still play it, and we're working on a new premium version of the game. So going forward, the game is no longer free to play. It's going to cost $20, and we're going to do like some, anti-cheat reporting stuff. We're going to patch it, balance it, like basically bring the game back to life. So as of right now, and I think this is all going to happen like in the next couple of weeks, they're planning on releasing this premium version. You can buy it right now for $20. And it's interesting. You don't see that with a lot of games, especially these MOBA games. They typically start free to play or they end up going free to play. Awesomenauts started off being like, I don't know, 10, $15. Then it went free to play. And now they're bringing it back to just a $20 price tag. But it was, I don't know. I played a lot of this game this week, and it's still a MOBA. I was having a ton of fun, and then at some point, I was just losing all the time and getting really frustrated. It was like the exact MOBA experience I've had with every single MOBA out there. So at the end of the day, I'm like, yeah, this is a great game, but it is still a MOBA. Like, is it possible to make a casual MOBA? I don't think it is. Like, I think MOBAs are just inherently frustrating, and that's unfortunate because this really is a good game. And I was still having fun from time to time, despite a lot of the drawbacks. The problem with the game right now is there's not much of a community. The community is split because you can either play like the old version 3 of the game, or you can play the beta, which is the premium version. And then on top of that, yeah, it takes a long time to get into a game. And then when you finally do, there's a lot of cheaters out there, people exploiting like lag issues and just ruining games, basically. So it's really unfortunate. I feel like this game is really good, but it's just, I don't know if it's going to make the glorious comeback that I want it to, that Atari wants it to, but I do think it was something special. I mean, if you've ever played the game, like anyone who's touched this game knows that it's a fun game. It's done with cartoon characters that are like Saturday morning cartoons. They got this fun theme song, and the actual gameplay is a lot of fun. I mean, it does have all the MOBA elements that are really addicting, and it tries to simplify it like in a platformer style and with 3v3. Somehow the games end up still being really long sometimes. I've had like 40-minute games, 45-minute games somehow in this, and I don't think I'm doing myself any favors too. I'm playing a really difficult character. I've always played this character called Voltar. He's like, I think the only straight up healer in the game. Like, he's just a hardcore healer, and he's classified as hard. And I'm not good enough at this game to really be playing hard characters, but just I've always played this guy, so I just keep playing him. Don't know why. I should probably play someone else, but I don't know. It was disappointing because I think I came to the realization that you just can't make a casual MOBA. I don't know if you agree with me on that or what your experience in MOBAs are, but I think it's just sadly true.
I could definitely see that. I feel like in a lot of ways that there are certain genres that are made to not be casual, and the only way they would be casual is if the player is a casual player and like just refuses to. So I feel like this could be one of them, of like MOBA. It's kind of like even talking about some of the more hardcore extraction shooters and things like that. Like, I also don't feel like that's a very casual genre, but technically, I mean, if somebody was like, oh, I'm only just going to play it a little bit, like, they're playing it casually, right? And so like you could make it happen, but I think inherently I would agree with you that I doubt that there's a casual MOBA, Yeah.
I guess the real trick is to know when to quit. So that might be.
Yeah, it's self-control. Yeah.
Just as soon as you start getting frustrated or the game starts to become not fun, just get out. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be playing too much more of this game. I might pop in once Atari releases the new premium version, and that's like the official version. I mean, I played it in beta, but it just, every single game I played in there was just ruined by cheaters. So hopefully their reporting system works, I guess. We'll see. We'll see how well that works. All right. So let's move on to what we want to play. So you talked about Kingdom 2 Crowns. That's what you played, but what do you want to play?
Yeah. So I want to play the other versions of this game because they're slightly like a bit different. Like I know that with the Deadlands expansion, you have different monarchs or the leaders of your kingdom that have different skills and like abilities for fighting. So that sounds kind of interesting. I really want to definitely check out the Kingdom Two Crowns Shogun because I think that like with the Japanese art style, that would just be so stunning. And I know that you get ninjas, and one of the things that they do instead of like your archer that just shoots is like a ninja will ambush and like kind of hide and then take out the greed before they get to you. So I really want to play these other versions and be able to kind of compare how they are obviously in comparison to the original and the basic one. I have already put in a good chunk of time into like the Olympus lands of like the kind of Greek mythology. And that one's kind of cool that they start talking about trying to work your way up and gain favor with gods and explore different holy sites and things. So like they're really playing onto the gods theme of obviously your pantheon and your Greek mythology, which I think is cool too. And like visually that one already is so much more stunning than the original game, which the original game's pretty as well. So I really want to check out all the different versions that they have specifically with Shogun, and I want to keep going even more into the Olympus lands and then maybe even the Norse lands and kind of see what it's like being a Viking. So I mean, they just have so many different versions that I really want to dive in and kind of compare and find which one is like the best one in a sense, but they do have slightly different abilities, which is really cool.
So I was wondering about, I haven't played any of these expansions, but I did notice, I remember the one that came out very recently, well, in the last couple of years, Kingdom 80s. And that seemed like its own separate style of game. Like, I think it was still a management sim, but it was set modern day. And it also looked like it might have been more of like a narrative or campaign and not necessarily just like a pure management game. Same developer. I think it's even included in that bundle, but that was one I've always been curious about.
Well, that's a great idea. Yeah, I mean, dude, if there's a way that we could even play this together, I'm down because you're right. Like, I do have the ability to play Kingdom 80s. And yeah, it's fun that your mount, so to say, is like a bike that you're riding around in. Yeah. So, and it's more of a, you're right, a short story based like expansion that just it reminds me in a way of like what you would expect with the Stranger Things, right? But that's I would love to check out this one as well too. There's just there's a lot of good ones, and I like that they're different, but you're right, the Kingdom 80s is very unique, so I think I'll redirect my attention to Shogun and the 80s one. But what about you? What do you want to play?
All right, so this week I've put down Jurassic World Evolution 3. This game just appeared on Steam recently. I think because there's that new Jurassic World movie out, maybe they're trying to time it with that big summer blockbuster they're releasing, get some synergy going. But the game doesn't come out till October 21st, 2025. So the first Jurassic World, I really liked that game, but I had some issues with it. It was a pretty good management simulation game. And of course, how cool is that? You get to build your own Jurassic Park, basically. And not just like to make money, which is always the objective of these management games, but also it had this whole other element, which was the dinosaurs always break loose because of chaos theory, and they run out and attack all the visitors, and you got to keep them safe and then corral the dinosaurs and basically deal with disasters constantly happening in your park. And yet no lawsuits. Like they just run out and they eat like 5 guests, and then you give the all clear and everybody just goes back to like, ooh, look at the brontosaurus, no problem. Which seems a little strange.
Bobby, they signed the waiver. The waiver. It's fine,
Yeah. Oh, hopefully. I mean, that's the sequel we needed, was just dealing with all the litigation from all the dead park visitors. I never played the second one. I really enjoyed the first, but like it just seemed like a really mainstream simplified version of a strategy game. Strategy games are typically like for a very specific niche audience. Like I don't expect those to be like big crowd pleasers or anything like that. So it was really strange to see Jurassic World Evolution. Like that was the first time I ever played a game like that where I was like, man, this feels like a console version of a strategy sim game. It was very strange. But yeah, I never got around to playing the second one. I think because I just wasn't totally wowed by the first, plus those are big time sinks. But with the third one coming out, I really wonder what they've done with the genre. Is it just more of the same? Have they gotten a little more like, I don't know, a little more like what I would call like a PC game, but I'm kind of curious. So the second one is on sale right now for $3, but you could also, or at one point in time, it was free on Epic Games. So I have it free on Epic. Like I could play it. Maybe I will. And then see if I'm ready for the third one. And I read through like the description on all of these games. And the only difference I could really see in the third one is they have something called the Frontier Workshop, which allows you to upload and share cross-platform community creations with other users. So you could create some sort of custom building in your park, or maybe a dinosaur, I don't know. And then you could share that with other people and they could say, oh, that's cool. It's basically like Steam Workshop, but their own version of it that's cross-platform. So that seems really cool. I know a lot of other management games do that. That's very popular in like the Planet games, like Planet Roller Coaster, Planet Zoo. So it seems like a good fit for this. But the price tag's pretty high. This game's like $60 when it comes out. And, you know, when a game comes out and it's $60 and the second one is on sale for $3, you look at that and you're like, I'll probably just wait. I got a feeling the price is going to drop at some point. I mean, and they were giving the second one away for free at a certain point on Epic. So I have a feeling the third one will get there eventually. You know, in a way, I don't know. I have no like, I have nothing to back this up, but in a way, these games somehow remind me of the Tropico games. They're kind of light. They're not like super hardcore management. They're kind of fun, but and not like too sweaty. So I don't know if they're still making Tropico games anymore. It seems like it's been a while since one came out, but maybe Jurassic World has picked up the mantle of Tropico.
That's interesting because to me, like, these games are really reminiscent for me of like Roller Coaster Tycoon and like creating amusement parks and like an entertainment kind of center and niche, and like something along the same vein of like The Sims even is kind of what these games have always resonated with me, because I played Jurassic World Evolution. I truthfully, though, cannot remember if it was the first one or second one. But I definitely remember like really liking it. And like I said, really bringing me back to like, oh, I want to design my little like theme park. But that brings me right back to Roller Coaster Tycoon. But you're right. And I think you brought up a really good point too, actually, about the price tags of these things, how like this one's coming out at $60 and the one right before it is now $3. And what is the difference, or what are you changing? Or is it just like the new thing, the new shiny thing? And is it just with the new graphics and, you know, the new era of that? Because yeah, I'd argue just play the second one if you want to scratch that itch, because they are so similar. Like they're just kind of the same thing. Yeah. Which I like it.
And a lot of people will tell you, like, if they're old enough, a lot of people will say that Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 is the best management game there ever was. Like, that's the gold standard of these management sim games. I don't really remember playing that one when I was younger, so I don't know. I can't comment on that, but
I played it so much, but I think what really makes Jurassic World and Jurassic World Evolution like really unique and special is I remember being able to like drive in, you know, a basically a Jeep and go around and have like this first person view of the dinosaurs. So then I can be a visitor to the park that I created. And I thought that was like super novel and really amazing and really cool. And I do think Planet Zoo does that as well. I don't think that now Jurassic World's the only one doing that, but But I remember that being really special. And I would not agree that even though I've played so much Roller Coaster Tycoon, that was one of my staples as like a child growing up, is playing Roller Coaster Tycoon and number 2. I wouldn't agree with that about that being the gold standard. I think each of them have their place, especially when it comes to different IP. Like Jurassic World is really a fantastic IP to be doing these kind of games with. But they're different, even though they're similar. And I think that there's place at the table for all the siblings because they're great in their own way.
Yeah, it's a good fit. Like a management sim for Jurassic Park, that just makes sense. But I think the first one, you did zoom into characters, go first person perspective. And I think I remember doing that when the dinosaurs escaped and I had to tranquilize them to bring them back. So you'd have to go shoot tranq darts at them in kind of like a first person shooter on the back of a Jeep.
I mean, you're not doing that with a runaway roller coaster, that's for sure. So
no, you don't have to recapture the roller coaster. It doesn't break loose and eat all your gas. Although I guess it could crash and kill a bunch of people. Yeah, it's really what we need is a management game that addresses the liabilities of these theme parks. Maybe there is. Let us know. All right, let's get to
maybe that's the new thing.
Yeah.
There's the whole legal part, you know?
Yeah, it could be like a DLC or something where all you do is just like paperwork or court, go to court. Okay, let's get to listener questions. We got a few from Warconius here. He asks, or he says, I'm curious to hear about RoboCop when Bobby finishes the game. Does he feel the same? Here's my take. The gameplay is decent. For a shooting gallery style game, it's quite good. I enjoyed the investigation mechanics and loved how there were some immersive sim elements to puzzle solving and choices to change the story and reaction by characters. Yeah, he's not wrong with that. I mean, it does have those elements, but that's all that stuff is done better by so many other games. Like there's really nothing that stands out about this game. And I'll be honest with you, like my opinion of RoboCop, I'm very close to finishing it. I'm like maybe half an hour from beating that game. I'm like right at the end. But my opinion of it is heavily jaded at this point because of the technical issues that I was having. It would the screen would go black, my video driver would crash, and like I just have to hard reboot my computer when that happened. And one of the times when it happened, none of my saves worked. And this game, this fucking game doesn't have a way to like load saves. Like you can't go to load game. Like you can just hit the continue button from the main menu. Then once you get into the game, then you can load a specific save. So for some reason, it just wouldn't recognize any of my saves, but they were still there. So what I did is I backed them all up. Then I wiped everything out and created an entirely new game, saved that game, then went into the files and renamed the file of the save, or actually copied my old save in there and renamed it to match the other one. So I tricked the game into loading the wrong save, and that worked. Yeah, I had to get pretty sneaky with this game. But this was like 11 hours into the game too. You know, this is like right near the end. Like when this happened, I'm like, did I seriously just lose my playthrough here? Like this is, yeah. So I don't know. I'm a little bitter about that. And it's kind of hard for me to give RoboCop a fair shake here, but, I still think the game's just like, all right. Like, quick shout out to Pancakes. One of our listeners reached out to me after the last episode and told me that is Peter Weller voicing RoboCop in the game. And I'm playing this game and I'm like, man, whoever voiced RoboCop just like nailed it. They got a really good voice actor. He sounds just like Peter Weller. And then, yeah, it turns out like I could have done like a second of research and figured that out. But yeah, apparently that is Peter Weller doing the voice acting for that. And it sounds terrific. So there are good parts of this game, but like, it's just, if it wasn't for the technical issues, I think I'd be a little more lenient on it. But even with that, I still think it's pretty mid-tier. Warconius goes on to say, in terms of shooting gallery-styled games, which ones have been your favorite? Call of Juarez is an example of one, which is really good, but I like RoboCop better. And I wasn't really familiar with this term, shooting gallery games, but that perfectly describes RoboCop. Like you feel like you're just standing there pointing and shooting at things. And like when you hit them, it's not very dynamic or interactive. They just flop over and die. I mean, I guess some of them have armor and stuff. And he mentions Call of Juarez. I'm wondering if he means Call of Juarez Gunslinger, because that's the one that really comes to mind when I think of these types of games. And I really enjoyed Call of Juarez Gunslinger. I can't think of too many other games like this, though.
I just mostly think of, like, for me, I grew up playing so many games in an arcade, and it's the gallery style, like, shooting is actually, I think, where my love for first person shooting games have come from. However, it's only been like the physical plastic gun shooting into the arcade that I like. So to me, like, I think I would actually struggle to enjoy these style games on a PC, because I'd just be like, oh man, I need to go to an arcade and just play this. Because I played so much of the House of the Dead, like all the different ones. I think the House of the Dead 4 is the last one that I played recently. And there's even an arcade here in Seattle that's been pretty great. My partner and I, that was our first date as we went there. We played House of the Dead 4, we played Halo, we played Walking Dead, and they were all in gallery shooting styles. So I like them, but not necessarily in PC gaming, but like they're my favorite thing to play at the arcades. And so I don't know, to me, House of the Dead's like the best one in my opinion. Like the whole series, I just love it.
It's a classic. I think you can buy a light gun for a PC. I think there's a company out there that makes it. I know a lot of people aren't lining up to play those games on PCs, but I did really enjoy them. So I had the light gun for the Sega Saturn, and I played a bunch of Virtua Cop 2, actually, to be specific. And I remember playing that so much that I would go to the arcade and play it, and I was just shooting enemies as they appeared. Like I basically memorized the levels. So on one quarter, I could get through an entire level, but then I would hit a boss fight. And in the arcade, the boss fights were very different. They're pretty much designed to, as many games were, to eat all your quarters. They were designed for you to lose, so you'd have to put in more quarters to continue playing. And that was the only way, no matter how good you were. Think of like the Simpsons game or a lot of those brawler beat 'em ups. Those were designed for you to die and then put in more quarters to progress. It literally like the original pay to win in the arcade. So I remember like just absolutely smashing through the entire level, no problem, a breeze, and then getting to the boss fight and then just losing all my lives just in one fight. But yeah, I still like those games. Time Crisis was, I think, a popular one too, because you could actually take cover in that one. So it felt like you could actually not take damage, whereas the other ones, it was just like you're always out there in the open. That Virtua Cop 2 and Area 51 were the two that I always played in the arcade. Those are my favorite. And maybe some
Nice.
Lucky and Wild, if anyone remembers that. All right. Final question from Warconius. Superman is in the news. So I'm going to ask the age-old question. How could that character work in a video game? Or is it impossible? That's a good question.
Yeah, to me, I just feel like the only way, I don't know, there needs to be a DC Rivals, I guess. Instead of Marvel Rivals, you got DC Rivals, and then maybe they'll come up with like a cross of fighting all of them, right? I'm not sure. But I feel like in a lot of video games, Superman wouldn't work unless they did like, I don't know, like maybe like even the Spider-Man games and made it more of an RPG that's like quest heavy and saving people in different parts. I could see that working, but I don't know. I don't think it would do like crazy well or anything like that. What do you think?
Well, it would be hard to do a lot of things like a skill tree with Superman. We talked about this back with RoboCop, like how do you do a skill tree with RoboCop? But that and just like how does it make sense that he has any sort of opposition unless he's fighting like big bad bosses like other superheroes? Like, is there going to be a bunch of enemies that Superman has to like get through? Like, that's not a problem for him unless they have like, I don't know, kryptonite bullets or something. But yeah, and I'm trying to think of Superman games too. And I don't know if I've ever even played one. Like, I can't recall any Superman game that I've ever played. but surely that's like a big IP. There must be Superman games out there. All right, I'm going to dig them up this week. Next week, I'll be talking about Superman games.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to announcements. Amanda, you want to make some announcements here?
Yeah. I got some shout outs, some things like that. Of course, want to give a shout out to our executive producer, the one, the only, the truth bringer. And also, it's going to take a good opportunity to plug our game night that's happening at the end of this month. Taylor is going to be a host, he usually hosts and puts that together, but we're really going to be showcasing Christian again for this game night that's going to happen at the end of the month on July 25th. And you can find out more details about that on our Discord by going to dlgaming.net and selecting Discord. That's also where you can find any new updates going on with our Dune Awakening guild, because we're still going strong. We're still doing good. We've got people in every zone from like the beginning all the way to like super advanced zones. We got people in ornithopters in the deep desert. We got people in the beginning doing all the tutorials. We got people everywhere. And so if you need a Fremen in need, Fremen's going to be there because the spice must flow. So feel free to join in and also join us with that too. And so got a lot of fun things happening this month and next month for sure.
Nice. All right. Okay, so yeah, join us next week. You'll hear more about that. And we like to play out on a track here. And this week we have got a little something from a game called Milk Inside of a Bag of Milk.
I love this game.